Before we begin, allow me to explain a little context. 5 odd years ago, I was an anime viewer, a baby, suckling on the teat of main courses of notable series. I thought, ooh, what's this? I'm standing on 1,000,000 lives. Okay, well, I guess I have some time. This, my slovenly compatriots, is what we call in the business a big fucking mistake. So began a series of viewings where I was so annoyed by each episode that I became a certified hater. Then I would go to the group chat and simply go off on everything I hated about this big pile of shit. This same group chat has occasionally been prodding me to finally make that final jump and make a video on it. I was like, well, it's kind of niche. It's from an older series. Who knows what the interest will be? Then I looked at the reviews and said it was 4.3 out of 5. I'm Standing on 1,000,000 Lives is a long name, so let's simply settle on the far shorter title of Total Wank. Total Wank was authored by Naoki Yamakawa, and the manga is still running till present for some reason. The anime first aired in 2020, so I assume it slipped past people's consciousness on account of the global pandemic. My biggest regret was not letting the virus kill me before I had the time to watch it. We are going to go episode by episode, and I'm going to be old man yelling at clouds. Good luck, you're going to need it. Episode 1 begins with a brooding monologue, being like, I hate this city and everyone in it. It's Tokyo, so I assume he hasn't been to one of those cuddle cafes yet. The main character, whose name I refuse to remember and will simply call Brooding, slumps his way through a school like a dejected badger. He can't even brood properly, as he's clearly listening to all the gossip going on around him in class, instead of listening to Evanescence or My Chemical Romance, like all true emos. We hear Brooding grunting heavily at home, which I took for furious masturbation. If, for the record, you're wondering why I'm not censoring myself, it's because no one watches my videos, which means no money, which means no demonetization. Ergo, I do what the fuck I want. After pumping one out, we get some more brooding. We are introduced to the second character, who I know is important as she has different colour hair. It's remarked that she is a model for the petite. This is obviously bollocks, because the only petite model worth discussing is Warwick Davis. Brooding is chastised for his teacher for not turning in his future jobs form, mainly because school shooter wasn't an option. And here he is transported to another world. I was going to have it as a drink game, where you took a shot for every isekai cliché, but I'd rather live to tell the tale. He is greeted by his classmates, who we shall know as Useless and Warwick. Suddenly the Game Master appears, aka the ghost of P. Diddy. They are given the quest of fulfilling the village elder's request. It seems that the quests are a series of tasks that, once completed, add a new member to the team while increasing in difficulty. Warwick is a wizard, with a disgustingly long hem. Useless is a warrior, and Brooding gets Farmer from the Wheel of Fortune, for which he condemns his bad luck. First and foremost, I won't stand for farmer slander on this channel. When squinting, for some reason, you get to look at your personal inventory. When I keep squinting, I just get kicked out of my local Chinese restaurant. They stumble across a log point, a glowing green circle in the woods. In the flashback, Useless, true to her name, says that she can't fight. It turns out that you can only use weapons from your specific class, which does leave Brooding with the possibility of, as a farmer, getting a licensed shotgun, and thus becoming a larger threat to his school. Turns out that every time he dies, he just respawns, and oh fuck me, if we lose the quest, we die for real. Brooding is stuck for 5 days with a broken hoe, the exact type of woman I go for. Useless finds her peak form, which is meat for dogs. Brooding runs away hand in hand with a girl for the first time, shuddering in delight. The village chief, cultural appropriator, tasks them with killing the big troll that ate Warwick. Useless is told to wait in the village because, well, yeah, that's about right. We get a sneak peek at Brooding's mental state as he refuses to revive an ally, revealing himself to be the worst kind of Apex Legends player. Episode 2 begins with discussions of future jobs in Japan rather than anything important. Brooding says he's going away to level up in the woods. This is what we call a code word round these parts, for going into the woods to smoke crack. Brooding finds a log point. Useless says she hates incels, and Brooding quite tellingly gets offended. Warwick says that they hoped Brooding would come with them. He gets all flustered like a big old pussy, but doesn't know which Yotsuya they meant, as there's 2 of them in the year. I would presume the popular, useful and handsome one. Brooding gets a sad flashback to when he was in the countryside with his old friends, saying that sometimes he goes black with rage, something I'm fairly sure is racist. Useless dies, and he runs back to the village. He finds a log point and we get the laziest storytelling I've ever seen, with clips from a visual novel. With all of these moments being stored in these log points, I'd be worried my allies would find one of me having a giant shit in the woods. My guess is they did the visual novel style to save on animation budget. Brooding comes to the realisation that other people exist outside of him, a truly shocking notion. Useless gets eaten, and Brooding is the group's only hope. At this point I wasn't really sure why he just didn't do some farming, a surefire way to level up. Now here's the moment where memories came back to me like a log to the head. The moment where I became a certified hater. So far, it's just been a bit of a lame isekai, whatever. Probably won't watch another. Then, for the third time in one episode, we have a full flashback scene to events earlier in the episode, just with a sad jingle overlaid over the top. Look, I'm going to do it now. Look how emotional and dire I've made this scene. He declares that there's no way he'll let someone stronger than him die. My exact feelings for Eddie Hall. Here's some total bollocks. He sees a random goblin and stabs him, saying go up, meaning his level, and this just so happens to stop time and save his life. He had absolutely no idea this was going to happen, and is just gifted a new class because fuck you, I guess. He gets Chef, just the ability he needs to know exactly where to cut and save his allies. This is what we call in writing total bullshit. Useless and Warwick get revived. It's not much help. The ogre very kindly waits for them to have a chat before attacking again, mirroring me trying to kill a Dark Souls boss by just pounding my head into it like an angry turtle. The Gooners, which is what I've named the crew, get absolutely banged out, despite pointing out that the ogre is likely dying from blood loss. The best course of action would be to hide in a bush like a local paedophile, but that's too smart for these doofuses, so they just die and repeat. Brooding dives in to attack his belly to stun him. Fine, almost a plan. But here's the problem. It's been established that you have to kill a monster in order to gain levels. Warwick has not killed any monster since reviving. Thus, her wind power, which we've seen is equivalent to a gas station hand dryer coughing on its last legs. She has absolutely no ability to shoot enough wind to its head to kill it. She shouldn't even be able to penetrate its skin for that matter, as we've been shown that she has awful physical stats. Brooding's knife was able to penetrate its skin, but just the belly, which for the record also doesn't make any fucking sense, but I digress. She can't physically do this move. The author just got lazy and said, yeah, here you go. They meet P. Diddy again, and Brooding asks what's going to happen at the end. They appear to fight Godzilla for some reason. Then, they teleport back to their world. Since I watched this, I've learnt a lot more about anime at this point. This is just fantasy Gantz. Thank you, Super Eyepatch Wolf. Not only is it a mess, it's a total rip-off too. Brooding remarks how he has never walked alone with a woman before, making the incel case a tough one to beat. He keeps talking about this city that I hate. I don't think he means Tokyo, but actually Birmingham. Episode 3 starts like all the others, total shit. They talk about Brooding having a dark past. I assume browsing 4chan and watching Andrew Tate. Brooding gets a call from P. Diddy and instructs him to hit on a girl at an empty school in a girl's bathroom. Okay. We see what looks like an assault taking place, and Brooding, to my surprise, actually acts valiantly, and he smashes these devious girls' phones. And she's like, why'd you do that? Like they weren't committing a serious sex crime. It's played for laughs, which I think is kind of gross. It turns out that the girl, who I've yet to name, was talking mad shit online about these girls on her stream. On God, chat. 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 P. Diddy is back. The new girl gets a job, and it's a heat wizard, my old nickname for when I was a leader of a Crip gang set in the 80s. The girls are weirded out how he stopped a case of revenge porn by smashing their phones, where he was completely in the right to do so. An extremely rare, as you'll come to learn, Brooding W. They are tasked with discovering 5% of the map, something I'm sure that won't send me fucking nuclear at a later date. No Name reveals that she tried to throw Brooding under the bus to settle things out with her criminal friends. Oh, I've got a name. Dipshit. Dipshit and Warwick have a heart-to-heart about putting in effort to not get bullied. My personal top tip to avoid bullying for those youngsters watching is just to be a total fucking psychopath during all sports. Worked for me. The amount of awful, heartfelt moments from nowhere is beginning to irk me, and it dawned on me, am I supposed to enjoy it when they die? Let's stash it in the food for thought pocket, along with some stale bread and a slug I found. Useless hides behind a tree. Brooding literally has to baby Useless to kill a monster, and she gets all bashful like, ooh, stop it, backer. Shit flashback time. They introduce a new character as part of Warwick's backstory whose face we don't get to see, but we're told that they are extremely ugly, as I presume the author was too fucking lazy to draw it. She seems to have a fear of being called ugly, and as an ugly person, I think that's appropriating our culture. You always know whenever there's a forced character moment, because the pianist gets off his arse and puts in some bloody work.
Ew. Sayuri, guess what I did today?
Brooding is surprised to learn that other people have feelings.
I can never even imagine her crying.
He's like, I saw you crying in the log point, and she's like, wow, you're so observant. This is not sarcasm. I was kind of waiting for the joke, but it never came. I'm beginning to feel that whoever wrote this has only ever read about human contact via Reddit, and it's got me thinking, who is this for? And I think I have my answer. Autistic people. And before you say that counts as cyberbullying, may I say that I am actually one of them. So this is essentially neurodivergent black-on-black crime. Episode 4, oh fuck me, a recap, and a forced characterization. Her ugly friend jumped off a building, and her dad is like, well, that's what happens to them, like a chicken being left outside to be eaten by a fox. So she goes to school and gets bullied by teachers because of her unruly older brothers, only for the students to stick up for her like the good friends they are. My friends are my strength, but I alone was sent to this world, all my power taken away. She's like, I need your strength, Brooding, please. And he's like, oh! I don't know if she's just stupid, but surely the lesson would have been, I need to find strength for myself, meh meh meh. Some dude pulls up out of nowhere, and it's like, wow, it's the heroes. I can only assume that heroes can be easily identified with the description, bumbling losers wandering aimlessly. Okay, I'll do one positive thing. I actually like the way that time works in this show. The idea is that even though it's been a few days for them, many years have passed in this fantasy world, and could make for some interesting environmental design. Will it? No, you silly bollocks. They show a map which I think is just Australia. Here's some important information that will come into play later. They are here. The city is over there. With horses, they will get there in 30 days. On foot, 3 times that. Now this is where we take the wolf get fuck meter and push it to DEFCON 3. The guy's like, oh, there's a martial arts tournament nearby that just so happens to offer the exact number of horses that you need. They get attacked by bandits, and because Brooding hurt one, he got demoted in rank. Brooding is like, let's leave Warwick to presumably get assaulted in captivity. Because he's autistic, he doesn't get the implication.
Because of the implication.
He's off to the martial arts tournament while Team Bumbling Idiot tries to save Warwick. Dipshit pulls in Useless and says, oh, it's only me and you that are decent, as Warwick is above us, revealing herself to be just some big asshole. Team Bumbling Idiot gets immediately captured, and Brooding gets a new class, abandoning the working class of chef and farmer and becoming an elitist wizard instead. Brooding is more concerned about being popular, and it's dawned on me that literally all of the characters are completely unlikable assholes. He gets banged out instantly, and he teams up with the person who did it, a knight called Carvel, who I will refer to now onwards as Henry Carvel. She tries to teach him to fight, and he fails. To save Team Bumbling Idiot, Henry and Brooding lead a force of knights to attack the bandits. Henry Cavill turns out to have some sort of murder fetish. We don't actually know about Brooding's ability to essentially lie to people until after he uses it, because the plot required it. Also, you can hurt humans now for some reason, but only because the plot also requires it. Fuck you. After winning the battle, Henry Carvel agrees to escort the idiots along with their quest. This pissed me off. Useless is like, I'm a warrior, I need to train. How about you hit level 10 and just get a new class? Brooding is on his 3rd. I get the impression that they aren't going to get new classes, so the author doesn't have to draw them in different outfits. They are given their horses, and we learn that these lizard things are horses. The author too fucking lazy to give them a new name, it seems. They don't even have reins either, just those old jet ski controls from arcades, or a rocking horse for babies. Oh, that wall I mentioned I was hitting? Well, I fully ploughed into it like a Live League video. Watching has gone beyond, oh, this will make fun content, to this is cock and ball torture, except I'm not a fun little gimp. Episode 5 starts. Another flashback. Oh, fuck me. I'm convinced this was written entirely for edgy 13-year-olds, with the amount of pointless angst I'm having to wade through. I hated PE class, she says, moping in the corner, claiming her medical condition allows her to sit out. Unnamed character Hoshi clatters the ring.
Shoot it, Hoshi!
God damn it, Hoshi! Get over here! But coach! No, Hoshi, sit down. Useless, you're up. Maybe not. Hoshi, get back in there. Yes, coach. She says that no matter what she does, she can't score any higher than the 1 no matter what. I'm surprised to see that the anime window seat isn't completely stacked with the amount of losers we have. Useless is traumatised by the death of the guards who presumably were about to sexually assault her. Here's some good character writing. Useless has completely shunned away from all manner of violence and confrontation in her life, but as she walks past this guy, she gives him a meek little kick and feels a sense of conflicting justice about the death of someone who's going to do her harm. But this, unfortunately, would require nuance. She's like, oh, I always thought my life would continue in peace, the piano player's fingers cramping from the strain. She says, I'm just so, do it, say useless and make me a genius. She says dramatically that she wants to protect her friends, everything but level up, I guess. Wait, hold on, are those motorbike horses? Sorry, musical interlude. All the smoking land, heavy metal thunder. Useless can't even lift her sword, but hasn't even done any gym work or taken amphetamine pre-workout since she's been here. What an amateur. Whilst it's good and fun to establish a level of skill separate from levels, we have established that you can raise your rank by pushing a sword into a creature, but fuck off, stop remembering these things, viewer. We can presume that she got a strength buff on account of being a warrior. Thus, we can conclude that Useless has the real-life strength of a country shrew. Looking at her sword, we can do a little guesstimation here. It's called a longsword, but it's closer to an executioner's sword, thanks forged in fire. I would say that the sword is about as big as she is, and considering Warwick is a petite model, then Useless would effectively be in gnome territory. Brooding is like, we need combat experience, so they fight goblins again. Useless stands there, and the goblin falls on her sword like a total fucking idiot. Useless apologises to the goblin, like that's going to help. She starts a monologue, that squishy feeling of flesh giving way. The exact same feeling I have when tearing into a fresh dinosaur chicken nugget. Henry Carville explains why cutting into living flesh is awesome, like an interrogation video from Ewu. The tone here is totally fucked. We are supposed to 1 second be like, oh, the feeling of death, its dark sensation, a fleeting form of a dark act. And then this bitch is like, yeah, it's totally pog, am I right? Like she's a member of a moped crime gang in London. The wheel gets stuck, and they get it out. They celebrate. I wonder why they made a big deal about this. Foreshadowing. It says they have 15 days and 5 hours left, with 3.24% left to travel. You may notice, keen viewer, that none of the percentages and times make any sense at all. I had a whole segment here where I was going to don a little lab coat and do a lesson, but I'd rather cling to the small remnant of my mental health that I retain. They see people being attacked, but only Useless wants to stop, like she's going to do anything about it. They decide to split up, with Team Angst taking one moped on the attack, and Team Useless heading onwards. Wait, hold on. She summons a shield and short sword. Why the fuck was she not training with that instead of the heavy sword? Fuck me. The NPCs reveal their surprise attack by shouting back attack. Why they haven't taken full advantage that they can't die, like piling on and allowing Useless to stab away. She Russian roulettes her inventory like she's got stick drift on her controller, and emerges the sword out like a Jedi. A rare, Useless W. Henry Carville comes to the rescue. Why she didn't just hover over the cursor and just equip at the right time, I have no idea. Also, no fucking squinting. Remember that, viewer? The author sure didn't. They reveal that they're on a mission to transport heretics to a city and then publicly execute them. Brooding covers his face like he's robbing a TK Maxx without a mask, and they are like, ooh, is this our quest to help deliver the goods? They are like, what do? We help them deliver, but then condemn them to death. But don't consider that they don't actually need to help them be executed. Merely help get them to the city, where they can easily go underground, as the city is supposedly filled with the largest population of heretics. So as they arrive, they cut them free, tell the hostage to stab them so they die, and then they can be like, oh no, they killed Brooding. It sure is lucky he can respawn, tee-hee. Episode 6 starts. Harry says, why are you trying to execute these people? That land isn't even your kingdom. He talks a mad shit. That's a good point, Henry. You can't just take people to be executed in another country, as that would just be murder and then they'll be arrested. Don't think about it too much, the author didn't. She's like, who the feck do you think you're talking to, you little feck? Warwick stops them fighting like a big fucking idiot. Henry would absolutely smash this lad easily. Then they take the cart, deliver it to the city, quest complete. The fight would actually be 7v3, so pretty easy, but they don't want to lose XP from hurting humans. But we've already established that they're not punished by acts that cause harm indirectly, or if the plot needs them to hurt people but can't be bothered to change. So there literally is nothing stopping them from double-crossing the soldiers, like poisoning their food. They have 15 days, take a big shit and mix it into their food, wait until they get sick, and then have Henry kill them all. Easy. Dipshit suggests freeing the prisoners as I described, a rare dipshit W. Warwick possibly says the dumbest thing in the entire season when looking at the guy who is menacingly looking off into the distance and has already said he's looking forward to executing a child is, and I quote, "I don't know why, but there's something about that commander I just don't trust." The kingdom apparently kills all believers. One side believes in just the god, and the other side believes in the king and the god. Piano guy really has his work cut out for him again. Dipshit says she doesn't know much about dictators and religion, which is pretty fucking ironic, and proof that the Japanese education system has failed her. Another concern that they should have really picked up on was that they learned that the prisoners are not going there to be purchased, ergo are not considered commerce, and ergo not goods. I imagine this will dawn on them later. The kingdom wants to stop the spread of heresy across Australia. To fix the issue of rampant dead from the war, the king bestows a slave for each family. The kid's like, hell yeah, slave, 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 slave. For a second I thought Brooding was going to make a good point, and yet again I proved a fool. He says, a guy who's colonising smaller countries for slaves says he's saving the weak? Oh please. And I'm like, right on, a face turn for Brooding. Then he goes, he's only saving the weak of his nation, and that's just mob mentality. For fuck's sake, mate. Dipshit interrupts and says, the more I think about this, the more I hate dictatorship. Like it's the first coherent thought she's ever had. Brooding is like, shut the fuck up, I'm trying to find out stuff. And she's like, nah, watch this, and starts talking about waves of social cues, but every now and then someone goes to their boyfriend or teacher. We're not playing by these rules. The guy's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Same as me. She's like, there's no humanity when a large group of people gang up on a few. He's generally like, what the fuck are you talking about? Brooding reveals that he is a total piece of shit and says the king isn't really wrong for making slaves and killing children. Dipshit says, let's kill him, right in front of them. I'm sure that won't backfire. The evil dude says it's 7 days to cross the mountain and 5 to the city afterwards. They prepare to go through the mines of Moria rather than go around. An evil minion says, let's go through the secret passage. The most obvious trap I've ever seen. You first, if you please. We won't send our cart in till after you've gone through. They obviously get double-crossed because Dipshit is a fucking dipshit. For absolutely no reason, there is a giant trap, and Brooding stops it in a sequence that didn't need to exist, but I'm sure padded out a chapter or two in the manga. Brooding gets bonked off the edge, and says he's got a couple days' worth of food, which is weird, because we get told that the heroes don't get hungry, so presumably don't actually need to eat. They do an elaborate puzzle-solving sequence that doesn't matter at all. The Spice Girls enter a new room. If you're wondering, we have Baby Spice, Sporty Spice, Ginger Spice, and Dumbass Spice. They face an obvious combat trap and they prepare to do battle. Episode 6. There better not be any soppy flashback or I will lose my shit. Oh my god, thank god. Brooding begins trying to climb out the wall he fell down by facing the wrong way rather than the far easier toe in the hole. Why do I hear piano? Oh, it's a flashback. Oh, fuck me. He is faced with his new class in the city, and it looks like he's getting heckled. Just off screen is a young me. Boo! Get off the stage! He's sad because he's alone at lunch, and isn't allowed into any friend groups. Probably because he's such an unlikable cunt. Oh, a log point. Dear friend, you've served my family well.
Dear friend, you served my family well for these past 10 years and 3 months.
Everyone is crying for some reason, and we see that Random Lad is dead, although we don't actually see what caused it. At no point are we actually told the cause of his death, so I presume he died after listening to everyone's monologues. We have an emotional farewell, where I swear to fucking God, where they literally show every single scene he's been in.
Wow, this is good.
Thanks, guys. Pimsburg.
1, 2, 3.
Wait a second, is that why they had the scene where the wheel got stuck, so we can see Brooding and this lad interact? Oh, you bastard. This whole thing is kind of weird, and supposedly this is just a safe way to travel under the mountain, aka the Eurotunnel. So why does it have traps that make every single part completely unnavigable? The Spice Girls only have Warwick and Henry that are of any use, as the others are just flailing at bats. To prove my point, Useless is using her heavy long sword to swipe at these tiny creatures, rather than the short sword that would be much easier. Warwick and Henry charge the golem. Henry says, wow, you have potential, after swatting a bat away, and she's like, thanks, I play tennis. And I'm like, that's a weird thing to bring up. Oh, fuck off, another tennis flashback. So apparently the stats carry over from one world to another, despite us never being told this until it was plot relevant. She loses a tournament because she has puny wizard stats, and while she's dozing off thinking about fucking tennis, Henry gets stabbed in the gut and presumably falls to her death. Nice one. The golem turns and is like, oh, sorry, are you done with your monologue? And scared Warwick bats away, and stepping on a bat at just the right moment to avoid the strike. What do you know? She gets a new job, which is a warrior, and it doesn't help much. The Spice Girls sit there and do fuck all as Warwick tries to solo the golem. She mixes armour with a wizard hat, making the absolute worst Fashion Souls fit I've ever seen. Remember that this whole time the idiots are going Henry talks to Warwick in a flashback on what makes a good woman warrior, which amounts to striking the vitals, like that's not a good rule for everyone. She says that it's best to strike the heart, the most sensitive place for women to destroy. What the fuck is this? A hurricanrana? Since when could she ever do that? Remember, this whole time... Brooding has a flashback where he reveals his inner racist. He says that all life can be given a score. Wait a second, didn't the Nazis give people a score for various traits and lineage based on eugenics? Alright, new name. Adolf Brooding, as he's now known, wonders why he was chosen and questions why each person was selected to be a hero. Exactly what I've been doing this whole time. He questions each person, but doesn't assess dipshit, as we can universally agree that she's closer to primordial goo than human. We see a tearful Adolf Brooding as he witnesses little Twee with his time capsule being whipped out. Ooh. I assume that this is Brooding's version of not getting into art school in Vienna. He thinks their jobs are being manipulated and chosen, and he concludes that this must mean that he is the leader. I think he's actually been intended to serve at a...
Hot out there? Alright.
Adolf Brooding arrives, and the Spice Girls are like, oh no, Henry fell by the way, and he dives in to save her. How long has she been down there? Don't worry, I counted. It gets a generous 3 minutes and 57 seconds. She was hit here, and she's still alive. I'm not a doctor, but I will demonstrate that Henry was what we call in my line of work, totally and utterly fucked. She got hit right where all of the colic stomach arteries branch off from the aorta. She, with a wound of this size, would easily be dead between 2 and 5 minutes, meaning Adolf Brooding is cutting it very fine. Let's not even mention the amount of time it would take to get her out of this smooth-lined pit, while he presumably and simultaneously maintained his natural healing magic. Smaller arteries are cleaner cuts, the body can contract the tissue around to stop some of the bleeding. Also, she's double fucked, as I presume that the author was too lazy to check what would happen after such an injury. We are told that Adolf Brooding can heal, but only by accelerating the body's natural healing factor. Problem is, the human body can't replace stomach and intestinal tissue naturally, and losing such a large amount would result in an absolutely awful and horrific death. As in this pseudo-medieval society, I don't think they're equipped for total stomach bypasses. She wakes up fine though, as though nothing happened. Okay then, she kisses him without him knowing, which is kind of weird. Piano Man earns his pay with a more upbeat melody, and she reveals she came along to get real battle experience. They have 7 days and 10 hours left, and now that they're through the mountain, it means that they're actually 2 days ahead of schedule. Adolf wonders if they're actually following the quest, as it's a matter of interpretation. He wonders if the people are exactly goods. It did indeed dawn on them later. They debate whether they should save the child, the other two being, well, fuck me, I guess. If it isn't arbitrary instruction, then you can literally tell anyone, hey you, I see you're going to take this fun little pebble I picked up to trade in the city. Sword slightly drawn, a playful twinkle in thine eye. And then you take the person and their new valuable cargo, and you tell the person to swap pebbles with someone in the city. Ergo, commerce. Ergo, complete. Goods delivered. Adolf says let's split up. The Spice Girls officially over. Episode 7. Adolf Brooding says that they need to split into 2 teams. Honestly, picking teams from this bunch of mouth breathers is giving me flashbacks to PE at school. The only problem is that competency needs to be diversified, like drafting Raw and SmackDown. Henry declares that she's going to chase the soldiers down and get revenge for Bimsburg. I burst out laughing, totally unaware he actually had a name. Every step I take, every move I make, I'm with you. The teams are Team Cargo, with a guy who I literally didn't know his name, so I had to look on the wiki. He's called Mac Tua or something, so Mac Tua, spit on that fang. There you go, along with Useless and Warwick. Team Soldier Chase is Henry, Adolf and Dipshit. Honestly, I'd have switched Warwick for dipshit and finally have done with it, leaving them to meander in the desert and die as nature intended. Oh, new plot device, by the way, because I think the author just forgot to mention it. The soldiers have actually had these birds the whole time, which we didn't see, and they send notes away to their handlers. So that's why we couldn't just kill them before. Clearly, some Japanese kid wrote into the manga, effectively the Asian version of me, saying,
これは全く意味をなさない。
they are like, oh no, if we kill them, then the kingdom will know that we did it, and it could start a war. Right, okay. 3 grunts of no rank are killed in the middle of nowhere. Right, okay. They say, oh, we need to get them to say that Henry's kingdom is not the enemy. Imagine you're in the villain kingdom, and you get a letter like, hey Wagwan, just to let you know that this kingdom is not responsible for our deaths. Oh, silly me. I mean, if we were to die, Lamau. Let's see how this plays out. They follow them until nightfall. Dipshit and Adolf bond over games, and they have the absolute fucking cheek to overtly mention fake versions of Fallout and Dark Souls. They wonder whether it's a real world, and she's like, would it count as a first kiss? Like it matters. He's understandably like, oh, was it you and Mac 2 spit on that thing? And she's like, no, you're so dense, you backer. Like, bitch, he was unconscious. It's like going up to someone who's been in a coma for 45 years, and then berating them for not knowing what an iPad is. Anyway. Team Villain says that they are 3 days away from the city, and Adolf turns up out of the blue in the desert like it's Blood Meridian. Scholarly reference. He's like, you can't kill me, na 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 na. And they pretend that Team Cargo and the Knight fell in a hole, so it's just them remaining. He tells them for some reason that he's converted to the religion of the prisoners, and he's like, I'm going to be Jesus and use this immortal body to spread the word of the Lord if you don't release the hostages. He gives them a deadline for sunrise. Dipshit pretends to be a turncoat, and these gullible fuckknuckles believe her. They leave one of their members on watch, and they follow the least trustworthy-looking dipshit. They're like, she's awfully suspicious, so they just stab her, the correct course of action. These idiots are like, oh no, it's a bamboozle, a hoodwinking, and don't immediately haul ass to the camp, and just leisurely walk instead. They're like, aha, Adolf has killed all of the believers. Oh, you fool, he lied about his conversion. It's in the name of revenge we've done this, and it makes no fucking sense at all. Why kill the believers when they had literally no part in any of this? Adolf and Dipshit escape like Dastardly and Muttley. We see the plan unfold. Obviously, the bodies are not actually dead. Adolf bonks the guard in the head and knocks him out, and doesn't get a level down for some reason, because I think the author forgot. Team Villain is like, oh, drat, double drat. He also doesn't get a level down for setting the guy on fire either, because, I don't know. A later flashback sequence will probably enlighten us, an ongoing theme it seems. Team Cargo rendezvous back at the cave with the alive prisoners. The little boy, who I think is around 7 years old, thanks Team Cargo. Dipshit reveals herself to be a big stinky paedophile, making her easily the most hateable character in all of fiction. They're like, we're going to make it look like we hanged them with these sacks of fake bodies. But this is a huge gamble because it's on the basis that Team Villain don't have slugs for brains and didn't see them escape on a horse and be like, oh well, we can't catch them. Best we go bury our boy. Wait a sec, fellas. These are fake. And the plan falls apart. The plot doesn't want to happen, so I guess not. Once again, I have predicted the terrible flashback sequence. Behold my royal genius. Oh god. Dipshit asks Adolf what he thinks of them as friends, and he's like, yeah, excellent question, mein Damsel. May I pose an ethical dilemma? He puts them on a dangling cliff bus, and it's like I must weigh carefully, and then immediately drops the analogy. Oh, he does get a rank down apparently, but not for the bonk. Okay. Team Villain gets a flashback, which is kind of cute, and he's like, oh, your majesty, isn't he hot and sexy? Adolf kills the horse, the only character I've bonded with in this entire fucking series. Please allow Piano Man to return and earn his pay. It's time for my edgy monologue. I was just going alone through this world until I found a friend. This world is so cruel. We are truly worthless in the eyes of God. I'm going to get revenge for my dear friend Pablo. Oh, and Bixby or whatever the fuck he's called. Henry holds his left trigger to stealth kill the guard and main villain. And he's like, I can't believe the girl who lied to me would lie again. Oh, I'm such a dang doofus. The whole plan was to get the villain to send a message saying that the heroes are dead and thus can't have killed them. This makes absolutely no sense, and you'll see why. Henry beats his ass in the only cool scene in the entire show. Nice. Episode 9. We get to see the king, and it's shit. We get a small glimpse at the map that reveals that despite all of the fighting, trickery, and waiting to ambush, Team Cargo has literally made 0 extra progress. Team Cargo are like, oh shucks, we can't find any goods. I hope they just do my Pebble thing. Presumably, they put the severed heads in boxes, and we get another paedophile moment from Dipshit. I'd have burnt her along with the other guy, but I guess that's just me. Little kid keeps cock-blocking Henry by not leaving them alone, but it makes sense not to leave Dipshit alone with a child. Henry keeps looking at Adolf like, just raw dog me, you stallion. Having a Dipshit-centered episode is a bit like enjoying a Lisa Simpsons episode of The Simpsons. It's basically impossible. I think I understand Henry's apprehension about talking about her feelings for Adolf, as I'd be embarrassed as well. She thanks Adolf for avenging Bimsberg or Bertland or whatever the fuck he's called, and then just goes sleepies. They have 3 types of cargo: the people, the arms of the soldiers, and the heads. Team Cargo pontificate whether they will have time to discover the remaining 0.17 of the map. Despite probably eating into that number on the remaining journey, we see that the total time remaining as 1 day, 13 hours. It turns out that the heads of the soldiers were the cargo for some reason. Will it be explained? Probably not. This is possibly the dumbest thing you could have possibly done. The villains would send the message exonerating the heroes, so that when they die they are not blamed. This was so that they appear innocent and avert a war. So why would you take the evidence of this crime to a city and show the heads to people like, yeah, look at that, right? Sick, isn't it? They meet up with Team Cargo, who must be the second Blit from earlier, and they decide to split up once again to finish the remaining journey. Right, here we fucking go. They split up once again to continue the rest of the journey, walking along the roads in nice scenery. You may be wondering, normal intelligent person, why the fuck are they not using horses? The problem is that would make it over too quickly and there's no dramatic stakes, so fuck you I guess. If they had a single brain cell between them, then the moment that Team Cargo saw that the quest was done, they would have put that shit in reverse, Terry.
Bag up, Terry. Put it in reverse, Terry. Put it in reverse. Oh, Lord, Jesus.
And headed off into Terra Incognita for the easy win. Camp out one more night in the wilderness, as remember, they don't get hungry. But of course it needs to be dumber. Adolf is within eyeshot of the city on a mountain, and rather just go around it on the undiscovered road to the south, he climbs through the mountain instead. Those who didn't walk up the same mountain have gone roughly in the same distance, which also makes no sense. You may notice that you're going to see me go from haha this show's stupid to genuinely angry. Muck Tua spit on that thing, and Henry discuss a blizzard incoming, which is bullshit, as every farmer knows red sky at night, shepherd's delight, red sky in morning, shepherd's warning. I'm sure this won't matter. Adolf struggles to beat the incel allegations by totally blowing it with Henry. The blizzard begins and we see Adolf doing exercise in the freezing temperature. This is a really dumb idea, as the sweat just freezes on your skin and you become totally fucked. Warwick has a weird and quite frankly gross monologue where she brings up her dead ugly mate, and she's like, I didn't want to kill myself, so I took care of how I looked, and that made me popular, and I was supported. What a great message. Fuck off. Warwick does learn the important message that committing violence is very empowering. What a role model. I'm serious, I'm fucking done. Why is Useless lugging around her shield? She has an inventory. Poof. Squint and it goes away. Walk, you stupid asshole. Useless is the first to freeze to death, mercifully not taking up any more screen time, I hope. Warwick finds a monolith head. And what's this? It appears that some cunt opened up MS Paint and just scribbled all over it. Did they think that it was just not snowy enough and that we wouldn't notice? Ah, we'll fix it in post. Fuck you. She realises that she's been walking in circles and hits a Darth Vader.
To hell with this!
Wait, she's got a map. She's got a map that points you where you're going. It's a compass and a map. For fuck's sake, idiot. Adolf says that 0.008% of the map is 10 kilometers. That won't be weird later. Dipshit, what are you doing? Walk! Oh, hold on. This means she's dead. Local school children celebrate. Here's another question. Why when he was up the mountain would he just not fucking send it off the cliff? You're just going to respawn anyway, completely fine. It doesn't hurt that much. And he's also got a saucepan, so he could probably just sled down portions, right? The budget version of what Luke Skywalker fought turns up. Adolf wins the duel off-screen, because I guess they ran out of animation budget. The little monsters run out, and he's like, wow, I never thought they'd had families, proving for the last time that Adolf does not know how babies are made. Looking like me when I'm disassociating in my bed, he's like, they're all just virtual images. Adolf accidentally goose steps into a crevice and realises that they're completely fucked as he's going to have to rely on the other idiots. Episode 11 begins in presumably dipshit's fantasy world, featuring 2 children. The irony is that the parody show is better than the actual show, the 2 pets having about as much screen time as Blims Blam or whatever the fuck he's called. In 15 seconds we get more plot than the previous 10 episodes combined. If it were not for the fact that watching Magical Girl anime as a grown man puts you on sort of some terrorist watch list, I'd much rather watch that than I'm kneeling on a dozen weekends. Making the same noises I do when nutting, our magical heroes are victorious. In the second interesting moment in the series, they do a full fake intro for the magical show, which is kind of cool. Oh bollocks, dipshit's back. She monologues that she always thought that she'd be a great magical girl. We have magical girls in Britain. I believe they're the ones that hand out drugs at Glastonbury. Dipshit has made the time to build a fucking igloo rather than walk for a couple miles. She reveals that she hangs around with more popular people and then just chats shit about them online. I can never be a magical girl of love and hope. We are back with Adolf and he says, Oh, I fell down here and died, but I revived because I could maintain my body heat. Come on, at least stay consistent on the rules you have. He's been worrying that if you die in the cold, you can't resurrect because of your body heat. But that doesn't make any sense because we've never established any rules or conditions on revival. If limbs are cut off, they return. If you're swallowed, you can't revive. If they bleed to death, the blood gets returned, so why would dying of cold be an exception? If the blood gets returned to the body, then I don't understand why that would be a permanent death. I don't know. On with the video. Adolf winds up in a dungeon, and Warwick is like, duh, I should have used my map. She walks across a frozen lake and she takes the rest of the episode off. Adolf keeps wandering around and realises that he's managed to get himself stuck in the crevice. He gets attacked by a giant uncircumcised cock. False alarm, he's crawling after the worm. He tries to talk to the worm, and it truly is a cock. Wow. A vagina chases the cock. How the turns have tabled, Mr. Worm. All hope, it seems, is placed in Dipshit. She feels relieved that she can just die. That makes 2 of us, sister. She gets a dressing down from the magical girl. Clearly, the fantasy world does not simulate her medication. She gets inspired and can all of a sudden do magic again. She said that she had no mana left before, but I guess mana reserves are purely based on plot conveniences. I'm not even surprised anymore, just disappointed. Oh, and to add to the pedo, we have incest fantasy too. She bumps into, what the fuck, the lad from Alice in Wonderland, and the woman's like, are you a player? And I'd be like, yeah, you're damn right, dog, and then dap up the cat. She gets to ride on a giant pussy, and I don't mean useless. They have 3 minutes left, and they need to travel 0.04%. 0.001% equals 0.77 miles. Times by 4 equals 3.8 miles. They have 3 minutes left. Therefore, to reach the 5% overall, the cat must be hauling ass at 76 miles an hour. It's quite surprising when we get to only 30 seconds left, and we're still at 0.004 left on the clock, meaning that actually for the past 2 minutes 30 seconds, they've been entirely stationary. Jesus Christ, would it kill you to at least change the... oh, whatever. With this in mind, to reach the end with the new time constrictions, the cat must now proceed to travel for the next 30 seconds at 456 miles per hour. At the final ticking down, they cover 0.01, aka 0.77 miles, in 1 second. This, if you're wondering, equates to 2,772 miles per hour, or the same speed as a fighter jet going Mach 3.6, or around the same speed as an SR-71 Blackbird. If you're wondering about the acceleration, you big loser, don't worry, because I did as well. To go from 455 miles an hour to 2,772 miles an hour in 8 seconds, you'd be pulling Gs of 32.7. Fighter pilots can pull 9 Gs for about a second or two before blacking out and dying. 32 Gs would be like a deserved fate for Dipshit. P. Diddy is back, as they completed their test. She asks if it's the virtual world, and Diddy said, nah, it's a parallel world. We have a painstaking explanation of parallel worlds, as if everyone watching this hasn't dreamed of being in one where they chose not to watch this. It seems that the one question thing is out the window, when he could have just said no and left it at that. We will refer to this version of Diddy as cooperating witness Diddy. They are told that they are actually the virtual beings. Brooding is like, oh no, I murdered someone, rather than what he should have been doing in that moment, which was witness tampering. In the final episode of the season, thank fucking Christ, we open to show Adolf having a crisis, as although he did burn the body, he did not pull the teeth out and grind them, meaning that once the fantasy world discovers DNA forensics, he's totally fucked. I killed a guy in Peru in 1904, and you don't see me moping about it. Adolf in a monologue is like, "Truth is, I've always hated people. I wish they'd just disappear and die. But after killing, my heart just won't stop pounding." I feel like we're dangerously close to some sort of pervert awakening here. Adolf fucking crosses up some scrubs and hits the easy Euro step for the win. Useless and Warwick play volleyball, as it seems they get to keep some of their stats. Adolf is having trouble coming to terms with murder as he bricks the next jump shop. "God damn it, Adolf! Get in there, Hoshi!" "Yes, coach." He's like, "I hate this city," and he gets a mission from P. Diddy asking him how it feels. I assume with or without lubricant. Apparently, Trans Luffy here is actually the Game Master Diddy. A proxy body is required as currently he's being held without bond, considering he's a flight risk. He struggles with the fact that he believed it was virtual when he killed the person, but also questions the ethics of the fact that the guy that he killed was going to kill some innocent people. He ponders further, I imagine more focused on the fact that he could have had some real action with Henry rather than the virtual type he's used to. He finds out from Trans Luffy that the new player is going to come in and try to kill a former drug dealer, something that Adolf needs to stop. Adolf kicks the shit out of these chumps and throws dumplings at a guy who says, "Oh, my eyes."
My eyes!
He pulls off the new player's mask, a Scally's worst nightmare. The boss comes in, is like, "Who are you working for, kid?" and pulls out a blower. Trans Luffy gives him his magical wanking glove from the fantasy world, and he's like, "Stop this nonsense right now," like a 19th century nanny.
Stop this nonsense right now!
He stops the murder, and Trans Luffy asks him again how he feels about murder, and he just doesn't answer the question, and says it makes his chance of completing the quest better by changing people's outcomes. She's like, yeah, okay, but what about value of life? He says life has no value, like an expert on Antiques Roadshow giving someone bad news.
Get between £200 and £300 for it.
That's all?
Yeah, that's all.
My goodness. After all those years.
He says every single person who's dumb enough to be tricked into killing deserves to die. He fully puts incel Hitler allegations into stone as he closes with, "As far as I'm concerned, all humans ought to die, starting with the least valuable ones." Considering that he was tricked into killing someone, this is either A, an actual plot point, or B, the author just forgot, and at times it's really hard to tell. Warwick is at Burger King, and she's like, "Ooh, murder sure is rough." Useless is seen strangling Grimace for XP, and apparently cried for hours when a nearby robbery was once reported on the news. It's lucky Japan has such a low crime rate, unlike the PvP zone that is the US. Dipshit is streaming again, but this time with a mask on, like she's about to cook crack in a trap house. Her friend hogs the stream, poggers in the chat. Trans Luffy looks directly at the camera and says, "Human value? Have you reached the conclusion because you are some anonymous internet user who's somehow better than everyone else?" Naturally, my answer to this is yes. It did make me go, hold on a second, did this author actually make a genius show about having a deliberately wank story and then going, "Bet you thought that was shit, didn't you?" Meta-commentary, meta-commentary. And the answer to that question, did you think this show was shit, is yes. Adolf is back, and he says, "I'm no one. Just a dumb kid with delusions of grandeur. And trust me, I'm fully aware that my ideas are wrong. I'm wrong, I admit it. And yet the realization hasn't sunk in and I still think I'm right. And the world is wrong. What the fuck are you talking about? Who are you? I fight for the version of justice I believe in. I always have and I always will." He basically just said, "I'm a big stupid idiot and I always will be." That's about right. That was season 1 of I'm Standing on a Million Lives, and I hated every fucking minute. Will I do season 2? I sure hope not. But if this does well, then maybe. Like and subscribe or something, I don't care.